That morning, the rain woke me, just a patter of drops on the roof of my tent. I lay in my bag, knowing I wanted an early start to spend time above the tree line, and to make sure I could get down if the storms came. I hurriedly broke camp, rolling my wet tent into its bag and packing it into my backpack. Hopefully it wouldn't seep through and be wet that evening. Breakfast was the second to last dehydrated pancakes and sausage. That breakfast would be very much needed for today's hike. I would be heading up and over the 10-mile range. It's a really nice tool. It's probably I don't even know. I don't have like a list of favorites, but I'm so glad I brought this. It makes cleanup really easy, and I don't have to worry about packing a lot of stuff out. The hike through the forest was amazing. Deep forest oranges, browns, and greens flooded the extent of my vision. I could feel the weight of my pack, my body tired from yesterday's 20 miles. I had a bit of a climb coming out of camp, and now I'm on just a little bit of a cruisy part here. Woke up to the sound of rain against the tent, and then thinking to myself, I have another day of a wet tent. Maybe I'll get a chance to bring out the rain fly at least and have that dry out. But it is an amazing view up here this morning. Here, let me show you. So today, I'm only gonna go like 12 miles. I've got, 35 miles to go, going through Copper and then getting up into the mountains on the other side of Copper. Slept really well. Been having just random dreams. Last night I dreamt about my old airplane. Just came across some really nice campsites a little bit further up, and just looking off to the side I saw a dog. It was just munching on something. I'm like, oh man, where did you come from, doggy? And so I just called out, hello, and I wanted to see if it was this person and his dog I heard about that had 3 legs and was doing the Colorado Trail. But it was not the dog with 3 legs. His dog had 4. Coming up to the high alpine. Trees are getting scarce. I'm sure I was gonna go through these rocks. The hike after passing through the tree line was grueling. I knew it would be tough, but not this tough. It was steep and rocky. My feet ached and my legs like rubber. I took multiple breaks along the way, wondering a few things as I traveled on. I stopped, reminding myself that I could play the what-if game forever. I was here now, doing this, making my way to the top. I'll take the breaks I need and carry on. Those breaks resulted in soaking up the views, which went on and on. I felt as if I was standing on the edge of forever. There were pikas everywhere in the scree field. I could hear them making their squeaky calls from within the rocks they called home. They would dart in front of me across the trail carrying mouthfuls of alpine flowers for their winter stockpiles. A marmot was perched on a rock outcropping jutting out from the side of the mountain. He was there, overseeing the entirety of the world, and that laid out before him, which he would probably never visit. Over 12,000 feet, 12,228. Yeah, I can feel it, but right up here, this is the top. Just a little bit more to go. Oh, well, that was a climb. My back is killing me from having this pack on. So I'm gonna go up here a little bit and take a break. I'm at over 12,000 feet. I think this is like 12,460, but I'm just now cresting over between peak 5 and peak 6. And let me tell you, it is quite a spectacular view. Check it out. I crested the trail at a saddle in between peak 5 and peak 6, giving way to incredible views of the Holy Cross Wilderness and the White River National Forest, which I just traveled through.
I sauntered down the mountain towards Copper, proud of myself for making it to the top, and thinking that the hardest part of my day was over. I was heading down, the high alpine mountain gravel crunching under my feet. I had a couple more miles of high alpine to enjoy before descending back into the forest. Those miles passed under my feet, the trees popping up in small pine groves. The clear, unscented air slowly faded into the smell of the forest. The pine fresh scent slowly took over my senses. I may have let that get the better of me, because as I approached a switchback, the ground gave way from my footing and I tumbled over, crashing down the hill.
Back down below tree line. That was absolutely breathtaking. I love those views. I could see all the way out to Mount of the Holy Cross. Could spend an eternity up there, but really you can only spend an hour or two, especially this time of year. Clouds are starting to roll in, and I wanted to head down before any storm started coming in. Tomorrow is 2 more ranges to pass with views very similar to that. Carrying on after lunch, stopped at a nice little riparian stream, and it was really pretty. I had some stew and got some fluid, some water, filtered some more water. I got 3 liters now, so my pack is nice and heavy, but it's starting to compact down a little bit. And before lunch I had a little tumble. Nothing serious. The bushes caught my fall, thank goodness, but I did land on my elbow, and it's not really that bad, just a little scratch on my elbow, but I'll make sure to bandage that up tonight when I get to camp. But I was pretty lucky. I just stepped on this big rock that was in the middle of the trail, and the rock turned over to the side, and then I just kind of went down with it and right into these willows.
Everything seemed to be quite all right, minus a small scrape on my left elbow. I cursed myself for being so careless and clumsy, and thanked the forest for its understanding and protection.
Alright, just getting into Copper. Past the 10-mile range and done with segment 7. Crazy. 1 more segment to go, 35 more miles, or 32, I think it's 32.8 miles. And I'll be done with this part of the challenge. I do want to go home, but I want to finish segment 8. I think if I went home now, I would regret not finishing what I plan to do. A bit of a detour. There's a sign and instructions that say go up to Highway 91. It's just kind of strange walking on pavement with bicycles going by. The detour brought me right by a Kanoko. So I got some candy. I'm okay with it.
Leaving Copper through the ski and bike park areas, the crowd of day hikers thinned, and so did the stops of people asking me where I was going.
All right, I've arrived at my camp, night 7, and it is a gem. I mean, the camp itself is very nice. Plenty of flat surfaces, a little fire ring, and it's got a really amazing view. But I just love how the shadows of the pines are casting on the mountainside. What an epic day.
I found a beautiful camp a few miles in from the Copper ski area, setting up my tent, filtering water, and now eating some Skittles.
All right, well, I'm gonna do a little bit of first aid because I've got a little bit of a scratch on my elbow from when I had my fall. No big deal, but I want to keep it clean because a few years ago I was in the hospital for what turned into a staph infection. So I just want to make sure that everything is going to be clean. Day 6 done. I crossed over the 10-mile range. But before I got to the peak, I saw just amazing scenery. Got above tree line, my favorite place to be. Views from both sides over to Dillon and the Dillon Reservoir, down into Breck. And once I crossed over the saddle between 5 and 6, then you could see down into Copper and see the city of Copper. It took a lot of effort, just a lot to get to the top. I'm now officially on the last segment of my journey. 2 more days, 2 more nights, and what conclusion will I come to? Lots of things happen to you when you are just traveling on your own, especially by your feet. I stepped my foot on this rock and I thought it was going to be a nice solid rock, and it just like either moved or my foot slipped off of it, and I went tumbling. Like I fell over onto my shoulder, onto my elbow, which I just fixed or bandaged up, and luckily there was a bush there, so I made sure I had all my stuff and my gear. Everything was perfectly fine. Everything when I got to camp, there was no issues with my tent or any of my gear. And I got some candy. There's a detour, actually, a detour starting from the end of segment 7 into 8 that you had to walk through the city, and that was strange. And I haven't been out away from the city or away from people for this long. And going into the city and just the smells and the sounds and the sights, I was okay. It was just, it was different than being out here, except in a puddle. That was probably the worst part. Quite the day. Crossed the 10-mile range and then camping outside of Copper. Oh, I've walked 92 miles now. 92 miles, 6 days, 92 miles. That is incredible. And the one thought that I had, that the hard road was behind me. Cheers.